Hello, welcome to the Church of Judas. Welcome to the live. Hello, net and YouTube. No, hello, welcome to the Church of Judas. Goddess bless you. Mary bless you. Mary bless you. Mary bless you. Jesus bless you. Judas bless you. I bless you. Bless yourself. So, this is the Church of Judas. Um, Jesus defeats Antichrist Trump. And I'm kind of getting a thrill off of telling people about this. And I realize it's probably the best way to get the most people in America behind overthrowing Trump and into Jesus. And it's not about getting people into Jesus as a goal. That's what the Antichrist would do, is try to force people to care about that Jesus. Now, this is about the fact that it does both things. That basically, by connecting with the real Jesus, we overcome the fake Jesus, the Antichrist Trump. And it's the same goal. The goal is truth. The goal is love. The goal is community. The goal is Jesus, whether or not you call it that. But it is helpful to call it that for people that can connect to that. So, I've been thinking about this in one form or another for many, many years. The Antichrist nature of Trump has been very obvious to me. The Jesus nature of opposing Trump has been very obvious to me. But a thing that really locked it in for me was going to the No Kings protest in Denver on the 18th of last month, October 18th. And I went to a couple of them. I went to one in Lakewood with an older group called Seniors for Democratic Society. And I went to one downtown Denver, which was like a No Kings protest. And it was, tens of thousands of people, 100,000 people maybe. I don't know how many people it was, but it was a lot. And there were zero cops there. There were zero authority figures. It was just all these people gathered to express their um, hatred for Trump, but it was a feeling of love. It was the feeling of communal love and peace, which I realized later, well, that's Jesus. That's what that feeling is. And Jesus is the anti-king leader of no kings. And we beat the Antichrist Trump and his fake Jesus and fake gods. So I appreciate Jesus as the best and most powerful antidote to Trumpism, destroyer of Trumpism, ender of Trumpism. And then I felt kind of stupid myself. Not stupid. I feel like because of all the Antichrist stuff that gives all these people the religious trauma over Jesus, then, excuse me, it's natural and it's a social norm to kind of avoid talking about it because it's rude, to bring up even this name that they've sullied so much, that they've um, corrupted so much to even associate with Trump. So I avoided doing it. And then I'm like, no. I mean, I wrote a whole book about Jesus and the Gospel of Judas and Jesus and Judas and this way that Jesus has a plan to replace Christianity and patriarchy and Trumpism and war with this Church of Judas. So I've been into it. I've thought about it. And I talk about that quite a bit. But I don't really talk about Jesus himself or Jesus itself, like Jesus as this love God or this emissary of this love goddess that much. I mean, I don't focus on it that much. But since I've started to in recent lives, since that No Kings protest, it certainly feels like the way to end Trumpism. It feels like it's disrespectful and unappreciative, ungrateful to not involve Jesus in ending Trumpism, because Trump is the Antichrist. So, I'm going to have faith in, all the things, all the magic, the fairies, Jesus and the goddess herself, to bring people together with this message. Um, I think, again, it's the fast track or it's the easy way to do it. It's the best way to do it. Well, there we go. It's the best way to do it, but um, even though it's kind of right in front of all of us, it was even right in front of myself, we're not doing it. Like, we need to start, we need to start doing what's right in front of us. And um, in this case, it's ending Trumpism. We have the opportunity to end Trumpism. We have the obligation to end Trumpism. And while I'm looking for the end of all of it, I guess I should be more appreciative of the end of every little bit of it. And Trumpism involves these other things. And by ending Trumpism, we end these other things. I'm fully convinced that that includes all the bad things in the world. So the sooner the better, the sooner we end it all the better, sure. But there's probably going to be always loose ends of this stuff that we need, not always, but there's probably going to be for a while, loose ends of this stuff that we need to tie up and wrap up and not have anymore. So, there we go. All right, welcome to the Church of Judas. We're talking about ending Trumpism, replacing the all the systems that lead to Trumpism. And for me, the way that I've really appreciated talking about that recently is, since Trump is the Antichrist, one of the best ways to end Trumpism is um, with Jesus. So, thanks for coming. Nice to see you. Welcome to the live. So, another way I end up putting it, I think, is pretty simple. Is Jesus is the anti-king leader of no kings. Trump is the Antichrist. And the Jesus, the fake Jesus that Trump represents, is fake. And that one they call the King of Kings, the one that the churches have always promoted, but look where it leads you. And so it's really good evidence for why the churches need to be replaced. And that's pretty much our job, to go ahead and let the churches know, but put the churches on notice. You guys get replaced. Like, the reason you get replaced is to the extent that you allowed this Trumpism and patriarchy. So, ending Trumpism is the goal. Ending Trumpism and everything that implies is the goal. Being reacquainted with Jesus is a strong benefit of this, but it's not even the necessary thing. Although I feel like it's appropriate to talk about. Now, in the context of the Church of Judas, which is what I'm usually talking about, Jesus sets Judas aside outside of Christianity in order to replace all patriarchy, Christianity, war, and Trumpism. And it's a huge plan, and it's Jesus' plan, and I think it's really interesting and miraculous and a great proof of Jesus. But people aren't really that interested in it at this time. I'm still looking for the people who are interested in it. I'll put it that way. Some people have expressed some interest in it. But it does replace their churches. And replacing their churches is a great way to end war, and a great way to end Trumpism, and a great way to end patriarchy. And ending those things really solves all the problems. I would kind of defy anyone to tell me how other problems aren't, are somehow disconnected from patriarchy, war, and Trumpism, and that they um, wouldn't end when we end those things and end the conditions of those things. Let's see what the net and YouTube question is. A talent you wish you had. I don't know if I'm going to do it this time net and YouTube. Anyway, welcome to the Church of Judas. Thanks for being here. We're just talking about ending Trumpism. It's a Jesus plan that's been around for a long time, but nobody much talks about it, so I figured I'd talk about it at least until we end Trumpism, and then maybe talk about it more after that. But right now, it's an important tool to end Trumpism. That is the truth, love, a peace, aka Jesus. So, we'll find the right people eventually. Maybe I should be a little more open to new things to say. I feel like I need to access another avenue or channel of talking about this. And I've had one pretty good recently that's just to emphasize the nature of Trump as the Antichrist. And so Jesus is a very good opponent of Trump, or cure for Trumpism, or antidote for Trumpism. And I do expect plenty of people to understand that. I would like to talk to those people, both to get their ideas about it, hear what they have to say, and to encourage them in that way of thinking. Someone's here now. Hmm. I mean, the answer to your question is you're wrong. When you ask the question, you're kind of on the wrong side of history, and you have a bad perspective. But now you're gone, so it doesn't matter, does it? Like, perfect plan is not the man who tells you you are wrong. Time has got nothing to do with it. But yeah, I mean, their question was not really a good one. They joined 6 years ago. They have a subscriber. But really, we want to end Trumpism. Okay, Trump and Putin and Netanyahu, that's all the same thing. And we want to end all those. Okay? So, like, unless you're ready to convert, you're kind of in the wrong place. But welcome anyway, because we're ready to convert everybody. I mean, we're converting the entire Christian religion. We're converting all of Christianity to this Church of Judas, which is the real Jesus religion of peace, love, and truth. The opposite of Trumpism, the opposite of the Antichrist Trump. So, thanks for being here. I'm going to be more open to. I'm always thinking that I'm going to tell somebody about this stuff. And I'm going to be open to the fact that someone could tell me about it. That someone could find this who knows more about it than I do. I don't know if that's possible. I believe it's possible. But it would take like a divine connection for us to connect. And I believe in that. I think that'd be great. I guess what I mostly expect is that millions and millions of people could understand what this is, but that they currently don't, only because they haven't heard about it. So I mostly just want to talk to them and then have somebody start to understand or just have the curiosity about it to consider it. Yeah, we'll see. In the meantime, I'll probably just relax. I'm enjoying that strange green screen effect. It's something to do. I feel like it's really useful to think about how Jesus defeats Trump. How Trump is the Antichrist, and Jesus defeats Trump in his nature, in our nature, like the nature of truth and love and the things that Jesus represents defeat Trump, like the not the source, but like the representative of lies and evil and hate. And we have just very clear examples right now. Trump's refusing to feed people. Trump was trying to keep people from getting fed. And Jesus would feed people. It's just always the opposite. Um, and so, for me, everything that is the opposite of Trumpism is good. But the fact that Jesus is the direct polar opposite of Trumpism is what makes him, in many ways, the best in our approach to end Trumpism. And what does that mean for Jesus to be the best to end Trumpism? Well, not that we have to be like, oh, Jesus, please stop Trump. Well, I think that helps. I think it helps to be like, oh, Jesus, please stop Trump. That helps. But I think it helps for us to be engaged and involved and say, hey, Jesus, what do I need to do to stop Trump? What do we need to do to stop Trump? What do you and I need to do? What do I need to do with everybody else to stop Trump? So, and I think the great thing about Jesus and taking the spiritual dimension to it is you get an answer. There's an answer to that question when you ask yourself in that context. When you ask for that assistance, then Jesus tells you what to do to stop Trump. Or you tell yourself within that consideration, like it happens, it works. And so I think that's the secret to ending Trumpism, or one secret to ending Trumpism, is to go ahead and connect with Jesus on it and make it happen. I don't know. I'm interested in um, I'm interested in people's perspective of this, but I guess it's a little bit too much for most people. So I'm trying to find a much simpler way to approach it, which is the very simplest way, I think, is just Trump is the Antichrist. So Jesus is helpful for ending the Antichrist. But that's maybe still too much for some people. I don't know. I need to act like I need to approach it like I'm telling myself. You need to remember to emphasize the goddess, that part of their conversation that gets lost is that Jesus is from the goddess. Their God is fake. Their Jesus is fake and their God is fake. And one way to tell is Jesus is from the goddess. So if people talk about Jesus in a goddess context, then they're talking about the real Jesus. But if they're talking about Jesus and God, well, that God is fake. And that Jesus is most likely fake. Or it could just be somebody who's talking about the real Jesus but still using the old God terminology. Anyway, I said I was going to do this earlier. I'll do that one, I guess. Why not? I don't know that anybody does these. I said I was going to do this earlier, and in some ways I'm glad I did, but I don't know. I guess it has equal potential to be like inspiring and disappointing. And maybe I shouldn't expect more. When I was tired thinking about doing this in the first place, I thought it would be energizing. But I guess what's energizing about it is feeling like it's helping people understand something. And that's hard to do when the only person they picked for the lie was a raging Zionist. And I guess they have like that, that's going to be part of people's introduction, especially if I'm not saying much. They just see the comment from the Zionist that says, should we be more aggressive in our defense of Israel and the idea of so much anti-Semitism lately? Tyrone Khan is here now, though. Good morning, America. Tyrone Khan says, good morning, Tyrone. Good morning, Afghanistan. Or good evening, Afghanistan. I don't know what time it is there. Good afternoon. I was talking about the Church of Judas replacing patriarchy, Christianity, war, and Trumpism. I was talking about Jesus being the opposite of Trump, the Antichrist. I was talking about the not yet. He could be, though. He said it's a beautiful day. Is Trump dead? Not yet. Not yet. But I'm glad it's a beautiful day there. It's going to get better here. I think one of the best ways to end the Antichrist Trump is Jesus. Even after Trump is gone, like the example that he left will still point people to Jesus because he's the Antichrist. And people will look at the opposite of what he did. Whether they're looking for Jesus or not, want to call it that or not. All the things that are the opposite of Trump are Jesus. Truth, peace, love, all this stuff. So, we're going to, prove that to people in a really basic way. Just even with this recent shutdown when he tried to starve everybody. That, Jesus is kind of famous for feeding everybody. And Trump, of course, wanted to starve everybody. So, thanks, Tyrone. I don't think anybody's here. It's just us until we get justice. It's just us. Thanks for being here, though. I mean, I don't think anybody else is here. You're here, which is the important thing. So, I don't know if you know much about Christianity, but as it turns out, it was a corrupt religion. And Jesus knew how corrupt it was going to be, but he had a secret plan for replacing it pretty much at this time. So, yeah, well, it's kind of hard to tell. They kind of lie about the numbers sometimes. And some people, you don't really notice them. So, replacing Christianity is also the formula or the method for ending war and ending patriarchy and ending Trumpism. Trumpism is kind of war and patriarchy. You can see how they're all kind of the same thing. It's like getting this real truth out there is going to end the evils, ignorance and fear and stuff that leads to patriarchy, Trumpism, and war. So, I think we really should do it. I talk about it a lot. Okay. You said you're Muslim, but I'm familiar with Christianity. Okay. That's good. Are you familiar in Afghanistan with how the United States supported uh, the Mujahideen to fight the Russians. Are you familiar with how they exported radical clerics to provide like a spiritual Rambo 3? I don't know if I even saw Rambo 3, but I'm going to trust you on that. Yeah, I think so. Um, I think I need to see that now. Okay, so in my view, Christianity has created, say, Zionism and Wahhabi, is that what it's called? Islam. Those are products of Christianity. They're like rebrandings of a problematic Christianity. And that problematic Christianity is not an exception. It's kind of, at the core, the heart of all these different Christian traditions, where there's been at least a background of crusades and empire and all this stuff that, reveals their like supremacist doctrine. And all that's evil as fuck. And so the fact that it's like that is not an accident. I would even suggest that I don't know that much about like Hinduism and some other traditions, but right now I know that this Hindu nationalism is also an offshoot of this Trump Putin stuff, Trump Putineers. And just like Zionism or, um, sorry, the cat's coming up. Just like these other supremacist, the white supremacy in America, um, Putin's Russian supremacy ideas, all these different supremacist ideas. Oh yeah, or the encouraging people to use violence, um, like terrorism and stuff. All that stuff comes from Christianity, and it shows how bad Christianity has been and can be. And that's not Jesus though. It just comes from Christianity. And Christianity has been, corrupted or like an offshoot, like an obstacle to real uh, Jesus religion. At the same time, Jesus knew this was going to happen, and so he had a plan for it. He had a plan to replace all these Christian churches because of their corruption. And it's really like miraculous and cool. I don't know how it's going to affect Islam or other religions, Buddhism or Hinduism or anything, when it happens. But I think it will affect them in the sense that everybody will notice, hey, did you see what happened to Christianity? Did you see how it completely kind of inverted itself and turned into something completely different than what it was? And I think that could catch on in other religions as well and change them in some ways. Or other religions won't need any sort of change other than this reversal of Christianity and therefore the removal of these offshoot things like Zionism and Hindu nationalism and Wahhabi Islam that Christianity has produced. It's just like you can easily see how these Christian empires and cultures and stuff have been dominating and exterminating and just, destroying culture all over the world. You already say what about Christianity? What part do you say about Christianity? That it's corruption of stuff? Because tell me more about that. I never really thought about that. Like, um, what different outside views of Christianity specifically think about it. I thought maybe they feel its hostility towards them and therefore don't like it. But, so in this prophecy, this Judas prophecy, where Jesus had a secret conversation with Judas and um, tells him, hey, you're going to be hated for what I'm asking you to do. but that's going to keep you out of all the churches. You'll be outside of all these different churches, or you'll be hated, and all these churches are going to go corrupt and do all this corrupt stuff. But because you didn't have any responsibility for that, when your side of the story is revealed and you return, which is now, then you will replace all their churches. Your truth will be so great as to replace all the churches that kept you out. The corruptions and alterations of the book. I was aware of that, how the Quran is supposed to be so like untranslated, so like uh, original. It's supposed to always be the same original thing. And the corruptions and alterations of the Bible are probably great and numerous. The difference between what the Gospel of Judas presents, which was of course not kept in the Bible, and what's in the Bible, um, are pretty significant. One is Jesus is from the goddess, not God. Therefore, that God is fake. Um, excuse me. Uh, Another one, stop sacrificing animals. There's all these different things in it at different levels. Stop sacrificing animals is something that Jesus told all the disciples. So you can tell how all the disciples, even the versions that they did get out, they managed to take that out of it. They managed to not allow that message. But all the stuff about Judas, that's all secret conversation that only Judas knew. Although it was recorded, it was passed around. It's just people in those early days destroyed every copy of it and didn't allow anybody to know about it, although that fulfilled Jesus' actual prophecy that it would be kept secret. If they hadn't destroyed every copy of it, or thought they destroyed every copy of it, then it wouldn't have been kept secret. So it's interesting how it's a trap for people to do things that are bad and end up like catching them in their trap. We sacrifice animals to feed those who might never see meat in a meal all year. Well, that's different. That's also Islam. I was talking about Christianity, or I guess maybe Judaism at the time, because Islam didn't exist back then. But think about it. First of all, the way you sacrifice animals and the fact that it feeds other people, that's different, than just sacrificing animals to go to waste to some type of god that doesn't exist and is evil. So that's different. We're talking about different things. But at the same time, if Jesus' message was to tell all the disciples to stop sacrificing animals, and they just didn't do it, or the people that did do it got eventually kind of undone by the people who didn't do it, that wanted to continue to profit off animal sacrifice. Because they were just sacrificing animals in the temple. I don't think there was anybody benefiting from that in a food sense. But they were benefiting from it monetarily. And we even know from the Bible that Jesus had an issue with that because of how he chased them out of the temple for doing that. But I don't think we know as severely as he meant to tell them to stop sacrificing animals. But he also apparently knew they weren't going to do it. He apparently had this awareness of the future like that. But it was an important point to make, or a thing to show how they went wrong, just like patriarchy is how they went wrong, which we know more specifically from the Gospel of Mary. Okay. Okay. It's a symbolism of Abraham when he was going to sacrifice his son. Yeah, I've never, like, again, no offense, but like that God is fake. Like, I'll ask you this. How do you think Allah feels about Jehovah? How do you feel like your God, the way you have a God in conception of, or on behalf of any amount of Muslims you want to speak on behalf of as much of Islam as you want to speak? How do you think the conception of Allah, people's conception of Allah, feels about the Jewish God? Are they the same? If it's the same thing, what the hell is it doing? Like, can you answer that for me real quick? Can you give me your quick response to that? I'm not mocking. Well, I might be mocking one or both of those gods. But yeah, how do they feel about things right now? He takes no partner. Yeah, but so you've heard about how the Christian God looks down on a lot of other gods, or the Christian interpretation of the Jewish God is all about looking down on other gods. Is taking no partner the same thing as looking down on all other gods? None are equal. Yeah, but if you're the more powerful of the gods, why are you letting this God run around leading a people into genociding people that are really into you? I'm not saying, your God should smite the genocidal people. I'm saying your God should smite the God of the genocidal people. Is he not really a smitey type? Because here I'm ready to smite the God of the Christian people. Okay? So the fact that I'm ready to do that, and you said you agree, so I assume you're kind of ready to do that too. Like, fuck these fake gods. Fuck these trash gods that lead people to genocides. Fuck them. Let's dispose of them. And in my opinion, we do that with the goddess. But if there's other gods that do that, then I'm with them too. But it's time to dispose of these false gods. And when we even discover, hey, maybe even some of the God that I thought was God is a false God, it's time to dispose of it. Or if somebody in here is like a Trump worshiper, or a Zionist, like, it's time to dispose of these false gods. It's time for us to do our part along with our deity to do their part to dispose of these false gods. But I think maybe all they're waiting on, or all they need, is our activation of this. We need to dispose of these false gods. We need to dispose of these gods that lead to genocide and war. And we don't need to never let them come back. And when I say false gods, it's disposing of a false thing. It's disposing of something that it's not, destroying a real God. It's disposing of the fake. It's disposing of something that's trash. And something that's been a trap. So that's another way I've been looking at things recently, that all this evil is a trap. Racism's a trap, sexism's a trap, homophobia, Trumpism. Trumpism counts for all that stuff. Trumpism is a trap. And maybe some people have some of those things and not as much of others, but Trumpism is an umbrella for all of those traps. And Trump is the Antichrist. So they're evil traps. And it would be great to get people out of these traps. It'd be great to say, hey, we see that you're in a trap, and we can get you out. This reminds me of Buddhism and stuff. And people in the in the burning house don't realize the house is burning. Hello, Aaron. How are you? Welcome to the live. And so they say, I've got ox carts and donkey carts. That's the Buddhist story. and dog carts. I've got all these ox carts and donkey carts and dog carts for you to come out and carry you away from the burning building. I had an Islamic literature professor, hi, named Dr. Godless. And he told us about a Islamic saint, but I don't remember their name. But I don't know, maybe you'll know. He was praying, and his wife came in when he was praying, and she saw these people coming through the wall. He gave him a bouquet of flowers. And then they found out, these were like Indian saints from India who came through the wall. And then, hi, I'm Puffin. Nice to meet you. These were like Indian saints from India who came through the wall, and they gave him a bouquet, and they found out they were Indian flowers. And he said not to tell anybody about it, but I guess she did anyway, and then the flowers could heal people. So, sorry, there's a cat here, so it makes me make these faces. My professor of Islamic literature told us a story. He told us a number of stories, or we read them or something. But one of the stories was about an Indian saint. A Muslim saint who was praying in his prayer room, and everybody left. A Muslim saint who was praying in his prayer room, and his wife came in and saw these Indian saints come through the wall. Like these people came through the wall. Maybe they were like a spiritual body of them. Maybe it wasn't a physical body, but she saw the people. Maybe they look like a ghost, is what I'm saying. But they came through the wall, and they gave him a bouquet. Now the bouquet was real, and they were able to have the bouquet. Just like when you have a dream and you wish you could keep the candy bar that you got in your dream, but you wake up and you're like, oh, there was no candy bar, or whatever. An apple. So they gave the saints from India, gave him the flowers from India. And he told his wife not to show anybody the flowers, but she ended up showing them to people. And then those flowers could heal people, I think. That as long as they had the flowers, they had healing properties. But the flowers came from India. So when the people came through the wall, they gave something from India. I don't know what reminded me of that, but I felt like I had to mention it to you. He also told us a story about a saint who was well known for their piety, I guess, and they had their prayer mat. There was two different saints, and they had like this saint off where he was insisting that he had greater piety than the other saint because she was a woman, I think. He was like, because you're a woman. My professor was Sufi too, so I'm not sure if all these stories translate across traditions, but he was like, because you're a woman, I have more piety than you, something. And she's like, I don't think so. So they had this thing where like they sat on their prayer mats, and I think she put her prayer mat out on the ocean, or he put his prayer mat out on the ocean, so that he was like sitting on the ocean on his prayer mat. But then she put her prayer mat like 10 feet above the ocean and sat on it there, and then he had to what's it called? What did Mario Cuomo have to do the other day? What did Status Cuomo have to do the other day? Concede. He had to concede. Okay. So those were the stories. Those were some memorable Islamic literature stories I remember. I only heard of one Muslim saint in India. He also helped the Guru Nanak establish Sikhism. Oh, that's cool. No, this was a Muslim saint in like Iran or Iraq or whatever, Persia or something, who had a visit. Like Indian saints came through he may have been a Muslim saint from India. I'm not sure. I guess when I heard Indian saints, I thought of Indian saints from other Indian religions, but it could have been a Muslim saint from India. But the people who came through the wall and across a vast expanse of land were from India. But this occurrence didn't take place in India. It took place, in Persia or someplace. I love stuff like that. I love magical stuff. So, which is, I guess, one reason why I want to talk about Jesus and connecting with Jesus to overthrow and end Trumpism. And it's not just end Trump himself and Trumpism in our country, but to end Trumpism for an individual. Like you'll meet an individual who's been possessed by Trumpism, and you can like exercise that with Jesus. I haven't done it yet, but I fully believe in it. Like, um, I fully believe that even by suggesting to people, hey, we can shift you from Antichrist Trump to the real Jesus, I think that'll help them once it sinks in, especially once like, the truth about Trump becomes more clear to these people. Um, they're gonna they're gonna feel betrayed by Trump, but in many cases they'll also feel betrayed by Jesus, and rightfully so, because their fake Jesus did betray them. But if they lose their faith in Jesus over losing their faith in Trump, that would be a tragedy. So we need to let people know that was never Jesus in the first place. That was the Antichrist. But there is a real Jesus, just he's the opposite of Trump. The one good thing about having the Antichrist running around is the opposite of the Antichrist points to the real Jesus. I think that'll help people. That's my plan. That's my plan in a nutshell. Yes, he came to India from Iraq. Hmm. Isa, Jesus, the one we call Jesus, that's another name. Sorry, Rahimullah ibn Maryan, Isa ibn Maryan, Rahimullah, Rahimullah. Oh, I don't know the Rahimullah stuff. Sorry if I don't say things correctly. I'm not Muslim yet, so I don't play by the rules, but I would like to. I don't mean to. I don't mean to um, offend the rules or anything in any way. Rahimullah, Isa ibn Maryam, Maryam, Maryam. Well, thank you. Blessed by God. Rahimullah means blessed by God. Okay, cool. Well, thanks. I can. Isa Jesus, yeah. Ibn Maryan. So, in the Gospel of Judas, Jesus starts by laughing at the disciples and saying they don't know. Oh, Mary is Maryam. Okay. Isa from Jesus from Mary. Isa ibn Maryam. That reminds me of the Gospel of Judas blessing, which is Goddess bless you, Mary bless you, Mary bless you, Mary bless you, Jesus bless you, Judas bless you. I bless you, and bless yourself. Excuse me. So yeah, Jesus starts by laughing at the disciples, saying they don't know who they're actually worshiping, which comes down to they should be worshiping the goddess. He's from the goddess. He says none of these disciples can even stand up to him or face him. And Judas says, well, I think I can because I know that you're from the immortal realm of Barbelo. I know you're from the goddess. And Jesus is like, okay, maybe we can talk. Judas can't look him in the face, but he can actually stand before him. So Jesus is like, okay, maybe we can talk. And then he takes him aside and he has this conversation and he trusts him to turn him in and to take the blame for it for thousands of years. He says, you're going to be hated for all these eons of time for what I'm asking you to do. Because that part's going to be kept secret. The fact that I'm asking you to do it will be kept secret. And so you'll be hated for all this time for turning me into the authorities. But then after that long time of you being hated and basically not part of any of the church and any of the evils that the church do, it's another part of this conversation is that he's interpreted the dream of all the other disciples. That the interpretation is all your churches are going to go evil. So he's like, you're not going to be part of any of those churches. You're going to be hated by all those churches. But then you'll return and once your truth is revealed, you'll replace all their churches. So that's the gospel of Judas in a nutshell. And that's why I feel confident, since the first two things in the prophecy came true. Judas was hated for centuries by all churches and kept out of all churches. Now that he's been revealed and returns and replaces all churches, then he's not the one responsible for all the evils that the church does, and he can be the one to lead the church to do pretty much the opposite of what it's done in many ways throughout history. So I'll probably shut down the live in a few minutes because I've almost got an hour. But it's so nice to see you again, Tyrone Khan. And I'm looking forward to ending this patriarchy war Trumpism stuff. I think the sooner we do it, the more people we save, the more suffering we avoid. Or, so if we go back in time and do it, then we could have saved a lot of suffering before now. But all we can do is try to do it sooner, try to do it more effectively, more powerfully. And that's why I feel like Jesus is our best hope for doing it. African Child is here laughing. Well, too bad you got here at the end of the live. You only got about 6 or 8 minutes left. Tyrone Khan says, I've been told on a religious term I'm favored by Mariam. Well, that would make sense why we are connected, because the Gospel of Judas is one of the things that I talk mostly about, but the other thing connected to it is the Gospel of Mary. That's Mary Magdalene. But still, she was supposed to be the authority for their community when Jesus was gone, but Peter fucked it up, which shows that, like, patriarchy is the root of the problem with Christianity. So we got to root out the patriarchy. But yeah, I would suggest that the Church of Mary has been the only real Christian church. And then there's not a Church of Mary. It's like the secret Christian church that only exists in a spiritual sense, but it does exist within the other churches, and all sorts of people have been part of this real church, even within these other corrupted churches. When's the New King's Day? You looked on Google, New King's Day, haha, I don't understand what you're saying. When's the next New King's Day? In Islam, she's also a prominent lady. Oh yeah, Mary Magdalene and Mary, Mother of Jesus. Yeah. Yeah, all Americans hate Trump. That shows how smart we are. It's only Trump Trump-hootineers who get caught up in the bad stuff. Anyway, I'll probably shut it down and go to sleep because I'm getting pretty sleepy. But thanks for being here. Thanks for talking with me. And God bless you. Mary bless you. Mary bless you. Mary bless you. Jesus bless you. Judas bless you. I bless you and bless yourself. Although African Child says Nigeria loves him because African Child likes to pretend that they're from Nigeria. How are they going to feel in Nigeria when they find out that you're helping Trump and he wants to invade Nigeria? He wants to go to war with your country. It's good to see you too, Tyrone. But how does that make you feel? I think my girlfriend went to sleep. African Child, how does it make you feel that you pretend to be from Nigeria and Trump wants to invade Nigeria and you support Trump? Oh yeah, you haven't heard? Yeah, Trump's going to try to start a war with Nigeria. You dumbass. You can't even pretend to be from Nigeria. I think if you were actually from Nigeria, you would know that Trump's trying to start a war with you. Like, we're talking about it here, so why wouldn't your dumbass be talking about it there? Tyrone, they stay safe, stay humble, love for all, hatred for none. I don't know. I hate these Trump Trump-hootineers, but I don't hate them personally. I hate the freaking devil. I hate the Antichrist that possesses them. So it's not them. They're victims of this Antichrist possessing them. So yeah, African Child, how do you feel about being on the side of Trump who's going to invade your country? How do the people, your Nigerian neighbors, the people of Nigeria, think about you supporting the one who wants to invade your country? Yeah, that's Trump. That's Trump who wants to invade your country. But you can't even pretend to be from Nigeria enough to know that. See how when you lie about who you are, it doesn't ever work? Anyway, check out the Church of Judas to replace all patriarchy, Christianity, war, and Trumpism. See you guys next time. God bless you, Mary bless you, Mary bless you, Mary bless you. Jesus bless you, Judas bless you, I bless you. Bless yourself. Sweet dreams.